February 10, 2018, the day my two worlds collided, volcanically erupting and nearly ending my life. I say two worlds because I had quite literally been living in two worlds at once. In one world, I donned a happy face, pretending I didn't have a care or worry in the world. Every day I woke up and went through the same mundane routine, appearing happy and unaffected, counseling individuals and families through their trials, tribulations, and trauma. Volunteering with our local child protection agency between 40 to 60 plus hours a week for the months leading up to Christmas, the Angel Tree Toy Drive, and right into the new year, all while pretending I was happy. In my other world, I had lost my dad to lung cancer on my daughter's birthday, had my heart ripped out of my chest, had it further stomped on by a guy I truly cared about. In an attempt to escape the pain and numb myself, as Scorpios do, I took on 9 digital marketing certification courses and exams, crammed into a 9-week period. That was my temporary escape. I managed to finish with a 93.7 overall average. At the same time, I was building a 12-week course called Limitless for my coaching business. Its purpose was to teach individuals how to live their bliss and create a life of abundance in all 12 areas of life. My passion lies in transforming lives, but somewhere in there, my own life was transforming into something unrecognizable. I had lost my passion for everything, including life. I had no longer cared about anything, and it went beyond depression. I remember sitting in my bathtub. I just needed to get away from everything. I couldn't take much more. I sat in that tub crying uncontrollably, feeling like I wanted to die. I actually contemplated different ways to end my life so I could just end all this pain once and for all. I even tried to convince myself that I wouldn't be missed. My kids would be better off without me. Someone else could do better than I'd been doing. That's what I told myself. I went to bed that night and I yelled up to the sky to my dad, "Just get me out of this hellhole. I can't do this anymore. It's too much." I woke up the next day with what I thought was the flu. Carried on for over a week. I couldn't eat for that week, couldn't even keep water down. I slept or vomited. By day 7, I finally went to the hospital with my son Jordan. My fever had spiked to 101 degrees. I could barely stand on my own, and I was insanely nauseous. The hospital ran tests and scans of my body. After 4.5 hours, they sent me home without a diagnosis and nothing more than anti-nausea meds. I woke up the next day in intense pain in my back and the left side of my abdomen. The ambulance was called. Back to the hospital I went on February 11th, 2018. More tests, x-rays, and scans. A doctor came rushing into my room. "You were here yesterday. Didn't they tell you there was a blockage?" he said, raising his voice. And then he left the room. I laid there thinking it was my Crohn's disease again. Boxing Day 2008, I had been rushed into the hospital because there was a cyst on my intestines that ruptured, which turns out to be worse than having your appendix burst. I was dying as I was rushed into emergency surgery. But this wasn't from the Crohn's. Moments later, 2 nurses entered my room. The doctor was giving me a choice of surgery or a GI tube. My bowels were blocked and backing up. My kidneys and liver were shutting down. And once again, I was being poisoned. I had some superbug bacterial infection. Now, I don't know if you know this, but a GI tube is pure hell. They expect you to stay awake and participate as they shove a tube up your nose and down your throat and into your bowels to drain everything. You can quite literally hear the sound of your skull cracking as that tube is forced through your nasal cavity. The pain is intense, and I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed that nurse's arm and I told her, "Stop. No more." Shortly after, I was wheeled into another room, isolated, hooked up to IVs, pumping morphine, ketamine, Dilaudid rotations into me. I had an IV of antibacterial flowing through me, and endured routine shots in the back of my arms to ensure blood clots didn't form in my legs. Nurses did not enter my room unless they were fully suited head to toe, including a plastic spray shield across their face. It was like a biohazard site from a movie. During my time in the hospital, I had no real idea what was wrong with my body. No one could get any answers. It took my friend John on day 2 calling the hospital director, being hung up on twice, and then finally threatening a lawsuit before we were actually told anything about what was happening to me. It was then that we were told that I had a superbug. For those 2 days, I was in and out of consciousness. I don't actually remember existing. I remember quiet, painless nothingness. And in that nothingness, I saw my dad's face as this larger-than-life archangel energy. I actually thought at that moment that either I was dead or that Med's cocktail was pretty fantastic. And then he spoke to me, and those words seared through my ears like hot pokers, forcing me to pay attention. What are you doing, Kimmy? This is not who you are. You are a healer. Heal people. Love is the answer. Tell them. Create heaven on earth. Be happy. It's in you. Just love. Let it all go. And that was probably the most cryptic talk I've ever had with my dad. I remember waking up later that night and telling my nurse I didn't want any more. No more pain meds. No more. I wanted to eat and go home. Reluctantly in the morning, the doctor released me. I really didn't give him a choice. I had defied the odds and beat death a second time, and I was pretty sure I was immortal now. I wasn't fully recovered, but I needed to be home. So he wrote me a prescription for 3 different opiate-based narcotic meds that would continue to kill the bacteria and keep my liver in check. 11 pills a day over the next 30 days. Now, if you know anything about me, you'd know that my body isn't used to narcotics or anything stronger than the occasional Advil. This cocktail they had me on was rather intense. I was told that I had to keep taking the meds, especially the one for the liver. I wasn't allowed to just quit them or I would risk having my liver shut down completely. The next 30 days of my life were hard. When I was able to walk without much help, I would try to go for a walk and suddenly I'd forget where I was going or even why I'd left my house. My mind was not my own anymore. The narcotics were having a serious effect on my body. I started losing hair and eyelashes and teeth as if I had this stage 4 cancer. And apparently, according to the dentist, it was a side effect of too many narcotics in my body. Something doctors do not warn you about. As I tried over that month to regain my mental functioning, I began to hear my dad's voice in my ears again. I decided that I had kissed death a little too intimately this time, so maybe I should figure out this message to me. My dad said, "What are you doing, Kimmy? This is not who you are. You are a healer. Heal people. Love is the answer. Tell them. Create heaven on earth. Be happy. It's in you. Just love. Let it all go." That first part about me being a healer, that's the part of myself I never had been comfortable with. It was the part of me I'd always felt alienated me from other people. And it was the part of me I grew to hate about myself more upon his death. Because healers heal, they don't take life. For as far back as I can remember, I've had this weird energy about myself, one that I couldn't even explain. One that became more prominent as I grew older. For the most part, I'd been told throughout my life that I had a healing, calming energy, that people literally felt more peaceful just being near me. And I found that funny because inside of me was anything but calm. It was like I was absorbing people's energies and taking them on as my own. I'd calm them, but I'd have all this dark energy flowing through me that I didn't know how to get rid of. And it got to the point where I could willingly take on someone's energy to give them peace, and I'd send them my energy, and I'd take all of their pain and negative energy. And by that point, I'd learned to transmute it and turn it back into a calming energy within me. I also had the ability as I grew older to give complete peace, not only to humans, but animals as well. Anytime a human or animal was near me who was said to be sick and dying, I would lay my hand on them. My mind would speak to them and set them free, and I would send them peaceful, loving energy. Each and every time, without fail, that person or animal would die within 3 days after I touched them. I was truly convinced for a long time that I wasn't a healer, but an angel of death. I literally hated being me. I hated it even more when I said goodbye to my dad. My dad had always been my world, my hero, the one person I could always look up to and count on. I thought the man was invincible. Yet that illusion was shattered one day in March as he stood before me in my house and told me that he had cancer, lung cancer. My mind went numb. My dad had quit smoking 13 years prior, and there was no way he was going to die. But he was only given a few months to live. One of my younger brothers, Jeremy, who is a shamanic healer, worked with my dad doing energy work and getting my dad to use CBD oil to kill the cancer. Father's Day weekend was coming up. My stepmom Sharon called us all and asked us to come to the house to spend the day with Dad. My dad wasn't too happy about it because he didn't want any of us to see him in his weakened state. The tumor had shrunk considerably, but he was still fighting a battle. My mind began racing after that call. I wanted to see my dad, but I didn't want to be near him. The thought of being near him when he was sick scared the hell out of me. But I gave in and went to see him. All of us adults hung out in the living room with my dad. At some point, I moved over to the arm of the couch beside him, and as he tried to get up, I moved out of the way. I put my hands on his head and I kissed the top of his head, telling him I loved him and to be at peace. 3 days later, I received the call that would shatter my world. My dad had a heart attack and passed away. He was only 62. June 21st, 2017. It was my oldest daughter's birthday and the birthday of my dad's baby sister as well. For my entire life, I had always had a different relationship with death. I rarely cried or showed emotion at funerals. I didn't have an attachment to it. I understood it on a different level than most people. I never saw it as the end of anything because the spirit is immortal. But this time was a lot more personal. For the next 2 days, I cried, believing I was the reason my dad wasn't with us anymore. Every night, I heard his voice telling me it wasn't my fault. On the day of his funeral, as we said goodbye to the greatest man I'd known, I actually found it hard to cry. Instead, I smiled more. And I got some really strange looks from people as I smiled away, but I couldn't help it. As the 6 of us kids walked up and stood on stage together behind the podium, along with our stepmom Sharon, my dad's wife of 27 years, I saw it. As my siblings began to talk about the memories with Dad, I looked out at the room in front of us. We had so many people that they had to open up the adjoining room to us. About 200 people sat there with us. More people than most people have at a family wedding. We had family and friends from far and wide, people who had flown in from as far as Australia to honor my dad. I listened to my siblings talk about my dad, laughing occasionally. We all remembered the same man, a very gentle, loving man, a man with incredible patience, a man who taught us all the meaning of integrity, respect, family loyalty, and togetherness, and to never give up. Growing up, I was a challenging child. I was the headstrong Scorpio, and my dad was the equally strong Leo. My dad never believed in physical punishment. He was the man who would sit you down and give you that hour-long lecture about what you'd done, how it affected everyone else, and how it would ultimately affect you as well. And I hated those lectures growing up. My dad was also very intelligent. He realized early on that telling me no was rather futile. If there was something I wanted to do, I was going to do it, regardless of whether he told me not to. So, my dad would start each escapade by telling me the potential outcome of whatever I was about to do, and then he would stand back and let me learn on my own. Each time, regardless whether it turned out in my favor or not, he would be there. And he'd ask me, "How did it work out for you? What did you learn? Are you gonna do it again?" Even if I knew I was headed down the wrong path, He never stopped me from learning the lessons I needed to learn. And each time he was right there by my side. Each time he wiped the tears of hurt or frustration and celebrated the little victories as well. I loved him deeply. But that day, as I looked out at the crowd of people and remembered my own life with him, while listening to the stories of others, I realized something incredibly important. My dad had touched the lives of each and every person in that room. Not one person in that room was there because they kinda knew my dad. He had touched their hearts and their lives in the same way he had touched ours. He was the father of 6 very bonded, loving, and connected kids. He had blessed us with a wife that he had loved and adored for 27 years. He created family days at his house to make sure we all got together and stayed close to each other. He had birthday parties every year with so many people, it amazed me. Family Christmas at his house every year with everyone sitting down to eat together. Every event in our lives from a young age was all about family, love, and connection. And we weren't the only ones affected by it. As I looked out over the room, I smiled. I kept thinking to myself that I was truly blessed to have known this man, to have loved him. And I kept thinking that if I touched even half as many lives as he did by the time I leave this planet, then I would have lived a truly blessed life. That's why I smiled. Now, everyone looks at death in such a negative way. They see it as the end of everything. We form these deep attachments to other people, and when we lose them in the physical, we tend to lose parts of our own identity as well. We feel lost and helpless. We feel suddenly unwhole. Death is not the end. It is the end of that individual's physical existence here on this planet, but the soul is immortal. Energy cannot die. Death is nothing more than a transition to another state of being. Here on this planet, we're here to learn karmic lessons, to help the planet and humanity evolve and reach the levels of other beings. We chose to come here before our birth. We knew our mission before coming here, each one of us. And the only difference between us and those beings that we call angels and spirits is our ability to experience things through our 5 senses. We are here to have an impact on humanity, to touch the lives of others, to create our own version of heaven on earth while we're here. For every life we touch in a positive, loving way while we are here, we leave energetic footprints. Those footprints remain here long after we're gone. A human being only leaves us physically, not energetically. The impact of their time here never leaves us. The lessons they taught us remain with us and help us to grow and evolve. The experiences of joy, laughter, and love that help to raise our own vibrations so we can touch others, they remain with us. Yet we look to the imaginary heavens and grieve them, often remaining stuck in our own lives when they leave. Stop looking up and start looking around you. They still walk among us for a short period of time. They have not gone to this place that you call heaven. The soul is eternal. It's energy. It's connected to all that is. When a soul leaves the physical body, it returns to their pure, loving, radiant light body, pure spirit, incredibly expansive, overflowing with love and abundance. And it goes through a transition period of reevaluating the lessons they learned while they're here on this planet. Those with the greatest missions here, often Lemurians, will be born again on this planet within the year. Others may take a little longer, but they're born here again to continue learning and evolving, to help humanity raise their vibration, to help heal the collective. So no one is ever truly gone. Celebrate that. Celebrate the footprints they left behind. Celebrate the love they gave while they were here, and then carry on with your mission. Your mission is to create heaven on earth for yourself, and then allow that to radiate out and touch others. You are here to create overflowing abundance for yourself and others. To wake up each day so in love with life that you overflow with passion. To love passionately and wholly without holding back. To give of your time, energy, and love to help others. To work at things you're passionate about. You are not here to be depressed, anxious, stressed, grieving, or to be living out of the lower energies. To live like that is going against your very nature. It's taking away from your greatness. It's taking away from your divine blueprint and ability to impact others. Every negative feeling and emotion that you are feeling is a choice. It's a choice to feel that way. For every reason that you can come up with to continue feeling it, you can also come up with many other reasons to feel the opposite, higher vibrational feeling. Start making better choices. Start elevating yourself. Choose to vibrate in an energy of love, joy, peace, and abundance consistently. Choose your heaven on earth. It all begins with making a choice and then taking action on that choice. That was the greatest lesson I learned from my near-death experience and the talk with the angel. I learned who I truly am, who humanity truly is, what we're all here for, what death really is, what healing truly is, and how to follow my purpose and teach others to do the same. I lovingly invite you to join me in this journey to live at legendary levels, to create heaven on earth, and to create the massive shift to help humanity heal. I invite you to resonate with love, joy, laughter, and peace, to let everything else go. You don't need it. It serves no purpose. Make that conscious choice for yourself. As always, I wish you love, joy, peace, and laughter. Namaste.